Hello, Duckies and Dice Fiends. Welcome to Chaotic Wholesome Presents. And we are here with the Table Talk Show. I'm Kay, one of your co-hosts. This is Gilmore. He's here being a little terror, half on camera. I'm sure he will be more on camera by the end. Say hi, Gilmore. And then we got David hanging out. Are you on this side of me? I think you're on this side of me. I don't remember. I'll have to check. David.
I'm waiting for the thing to I'm on the other side.
You're on the other side. David's on this
yes.
side. There's David over here. Yeah, we have to wait to see when things catch up because David, who the heck is you and what the heck is we doing here?
Hi, I'm David, and this is the Chaotic Presents Wholesome show where we talk about things. Where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to be a better person, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusivity so that everybody can have a good time.
And is that behaving? That is behaving. Huzzah. So I'm Kay. We're doing this thing tomorrow. Y'all send me coffee and good thoughts because tomorrow I'm doing work. And then at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is 1 Pacific? Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, noon Pacific. Noon. You can find me over on the initiative order playing Burton in Chalice, which is a homebrew horror game. Immediately after that, at 8 o'clock, no, it's earlier now, at 7 o'clock, Australia had a time zone change. At 7 o'clock Eastern, which is 4 Pacific, you can find me over on Goblin Cave TV playing Uenya in the circus game. We're playing a 5e adventure, and I'm playing a My Little Pony tiefling. It's going to be interesting. Back-to-back TTRPGs, wish me luck and energy. Come right on back on Thursday, where I'm going to be playing the Steam release of Ooblets, which is a game that is near and dear to my heart. I got to both alpha and beta test it. I made the first Shrumbo plushie, and I am getting to play it on Steam now. And then Friday, David, what you up to on Friday, David?
Friday, we will continue our journey through our second playthrough through Telltale Games' The Expanse, a Telltale series. But in honor of spooky season, I think I'm going to do one episode of that and then switch over to Darkest Dungeon. And then we will be playing some Darkest Dungeon 2 during spooky season. It'll be a good time.
That'll be a great time. And Ooblets has the Halloween event, so we will get some spooky season cuteness in Ooblets. If you don't know what Ooblets is, it's a farming game where you grow Pokemon-style friends, and then they compete, not in fights, but in dance battles. It is redonkulous. I love it. Today, however, we are here to talk about a topic that I know a lot about, even if I'm not necessarily the best at always following through with stuff, because, time and skill are things. We're going to talk about marketing your TTRPG. Because let's be honest, David, you flip through it every so often. How many TTRPGs are out there on Twitch?
Oh, dozens, hundreds, at least dozens. At least dozens.
I've been on at least a dozen. So yes, there are at least dozens. And what you play, how you play, will actually have an impact on your audience and how you market. So the first thing I want to say, before anything else, because we can go really, really deep on this, and I'm sure there are a couple points we'll get super passionate about and drill down on. However, the first thing I want to say, do not attempt to market your TTRPG as, that's at least 36, could be as high as 144. Exactly.
Yes. A dozen.
Do not try to market your TTRPG as friends at a table. It's just like we're a bunch of friends at a table. Everyone does that. Everyone thinks that's no one wants to watch your friends at a table. And you know how I know this? There's one set of friends people want to watch at a table.
Yeah.
And they are all professional voice actors. most friends sitting around a table, especially if you come in with, we're going to make it just like our home game. We're going to sit around. We're going to argue about the rules. We're going to be eating the whole time. Even the cast of Critical Role, like a dozen episodes into the stream went, we have to stop eating on camera. Because, it's not good. It doesn't. Friends at a table doesn't work. Because, who said this? Someone said the most brilliant thing. And
I mean, it's usually you who says the brilliant thing.
No, someone, I am really upset because I want to credit them. And I can't remember who said it. So I'm going to have to dig through. But we were discussing TTRPGs and how streaming them has to be done a certain way. And again, it's not Friends at a Table. And they said, watching a TTRPG is kind of like looking at a photo of a sunset. No matter how good the photo, a certain percentage of what is happening is lost in that translation. Because we've all taken a photo of a sunset and then been like, that doesn't, So, yes, bring your friends to the table. It is great to have table chemistry, but you cannot rely on, we are people who have played together for X number of years. You need performers. And anyone who has even tried to stream, everyone thinks, I can sit down and I'm going to stream video games and I'm great at video games, so I'm going to be great at this. And either they're boring to watch or they're exhausted by the end of it. Sometimes both. It can be both. But it is a performance, and you have to be aware of how you are performing. So that is my first tip, is do not sit here and convince yourself and your friends and build your entire marketing idea around it's friends at a table. It's going to be just like your friends at a table.
Circling back to a previous topic where we talked about things we wish we knew when we got started. I wish I knew how powerful and necessary the post-stream nap is. Like,
I wish I could have the post-stream nap.
Right? Regardless of how, like, outgoing I may seem, I'm an introvert. And so, like, performance is something that is exhausting. And so whether we're doing recordings or talk show or streams or any of the production stuff that we do, even if I'm not on camera, we get done, David falls into bed. And it's important to recognize that every table is going to be made up of different types of people, like especially home games. Like, if you played enough tables, you'll recognize the guy who sits there and doesn't say much, but has a great time. And that's a great person to have at the table because they're often the note taker. And let me tell you, rely on your note takers. But on screen, yeah. The number of times I've been like, hey, so what happened 217 episodes ago? And Kay will be like, flip. Well, actually, here's what happened. But, you know, that person is great to have at the table. That person also usually brings snacks. But if you're trying to market it to people who want to watch TTRPG content, that person isn't going to provide what they are looking for. And ultimately, I think when it comes to, especially when you're starting out, you have to remember that just like writing a book or writing a song or any of these other, or painting a picture, any of these creative endeavors, the second you turn it to, the second you turn it to the public, the second you turn it to an audience, that it ceases being just about you and becomes a conversation between you and them. Like, I have, at this point, hundreds of thousands of words that I have written that will never see the light of day because, like, that's for me. But the second I write a short story or a book or a TTRPG module or something and like put it out there, it has to be something that engages with my audience. It doesn't have to engage with everyone, but it has to engage with someone.
Mm-hmm. You paused right as I was like, he on a roll. I'm going to take a sippy sip. Nope.
Yep.
Nope. He not on that roll anymore. Yes. So the next thing I want to touch on, because this is an interesting topic, and I have seen people get completely caught up in this. So the system that you are going to play matters, and it matters incredibly, but also may or may not be your deciding factor. So if you're going to sit down and you're like, I want to play a game, I want to play a system that everyone knows and everyone will come and watch because everyone knows it. Well, that's 5e, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. But also there's a ton of competition. I specifically was like, I need to learn Pathfinder 2e. What streams and podcasts are out there? That's a much smaller, it's still a big pond, but a much smaller pond. So that can be a consideration. You know, we were even just discussing this in another group. Starfinder 2nd edition is coming out in a year or two, not now, but that basically means all the Starfinder games have a ticking clock because everyone's going to want to do 2nd edition. Yes, and I'm so excited. I'm excited for cinematic Starship Combat already because I haven't played it, but I have seen a flow sheet of how. Let me put it this way: current Starship Combat in Starfinder is such a drudge that I have never played it because I don't know a single Starfinder GM who wants to run it.
Wow.
So they have put out cinematic combat, so it's going to be much more fun to watch and or listen to. And then 2nd edition is also coming out. Give it to me. Give it to me. And 2nd edition Pathfinder, or 2nd edition Starfinder is going to be compatible with 2nd edition Pathfinder. The two systems.
Oh, that's cool.
Will, yes. So, anything more than 1-1 and it's a nightmare. Yeah. So, that is a little bit of a consideration because I've known so many people who are like, we're not going to play Dungeons and Dragons because there's too much competition. We're going to go play this other game that no one's ever heard of. And I'm like, cool. Yes, there's less competition. There's also not like a category for that on Twitch. No one's heard of it. You're going to have like 3 people excited that this thing exists. And yes, there's opportunity there, right? You can be the evangelist for this thing. But I have seen entire games derail because they're like, no, we can't use the system everyone knows. We're going to use this weird system that no one here has ever played that I heard of once and someone told me it was awesome at a con. And there's exactly 2 Reddit posts across the entire internet about the fact that it exists. We're going to play it and we're going to make it the biggest thing ever. And I'm like, unless you got a Bria at your table,
right?
Probably not. Now, that said, if you're wanting to play a sci-fi game with ship combat, maybe look at systems other. If you're wanting the ship combat to be the focus until cinematic Starship Combat comes out, maybe look at systems other than Starfinder that maybe have a cooler system for what you're trying to accomplish. I am a firm believer that you can make, with the right players and the right mindset and the right flexibility, you can make just about anything work in just about any system. David and I built Godplane in 5e, and multiple people have said you can't run a good horror game in 5e. I think we did. We also did a very specific kind of horror. We
Yep.
had some minor edits to the mechanics. You can make things work, but like, if you have the option to look around and see what systems will maybe fit what you're trying to do, maybe do that. Because if you're trying to get very role play heavy, maybe the most crunchy system out there isn't the best.
Right. And another thing about system is there's a balance between being well versed in a system and not knowing anything about it. Like we've talked to people before where they're like, listen, I've been doing TTRPGs, but I haven't run a lot of 5e and I feel uncomfortable running it on stream. Or I haven't run, like both Kay and I have been like, oh man, Pathfinder, we haven't done a lot of Pathfinder. Do we, like when the whole open game license fiasco happened, there were just like with many other production companies, we had a very serious conversation of, are we going to walk away from 5e over this? And if so, where are we going and what are we doing? And we really like sat and considered like dismantling multiple projects that we were working on, including like a big tentpole long-term project, and then rebuilding from the ground up in Pathfinder.
That project that we've said we'll have it out by summer for 2 years in a row now.
Right. Which we have been working on. It's not like it's just been like sitting there. We've been working on it.
Hey, welcome on in, Dane.
And we say to that person, and we say to everyone, listen, you don't have to know every single detail of every single system. Hey, Rex, in order to run it on stream. And in a lot of cases, it's good to not know everything, because one, Matt Mercer will stop, grab a book, flip through and be like, oh, this is the rule. And two, for people who don't know every single detail, it's nice to be able to see that the people who are playing also stop and check the book, also stop and figure things out.
Gently explain, like that's, we talked a little bit before about fears we had before starting. And one of my biggest fears is like, I'm not going to know something and everyone's going to know I'm a poser and they're going to hate me. And everyone, it's going to be terrible. And just watching Critical Role, watching different streams where someone would say, can I do this? And they'd be like, no, but you can do this. And like seeing that kind of supportive thing is great. And I was listening to No Quest for the Wicked. No, it wasn't No Quest. It was Will Save podcast. They were running a Starfinder campaign, and only one of them had played Starfinder. And it was not the GM. And the GM's like, we're going to kind of go through. So they're taking their time and kind of talking through things. And the GM, it was really cool because the GM's like, these are the core races. There's a Yusuke, which is a mouse person. There's an android who is this. And like really took the time to explain to the players, even at character creation. And then multiple times they'd go through and they're like, can I do that? And the GM's like, yeah, I think you can. And they'd start the next episode and they'd be like, hey, so we're back into combat because that's where we left off. Last episode, I told so-and-so they could do this. They can't. We looked it up. That's not in the rules. So going past is past. That happened. Going forward, this is going to be the rule. And there was no contention about it. There was no, it was a really cool, it felt rather like the discussions that we have here of, hey, this is how it is. Hey, that's really great to hear. And that is a tone that I would love for more people to adopt in the TTRPG space, in the video game space, in the social media space, just anywhere. Just be more like that.
Rex makes a good point, as will Jeremy Crawford, who is the lead rules designer, literally his job, and he checks. And also remember, a lot of stuff goes on off camera that you don't see. One of the great advantages that Kay and I have as a duo who are doing the DMing and production is we'll have a group chat with everybody who's playing going, and somebody will go, I cast Bless. And like you see like the pinwheel start on 2 people, and they're like, huh? And I already have tabs open with references for everybody's like spell blocks. So I just go click, copy, paste, and then everybody who's playing the game can see in the group chat, this is what this spell does. Or we'll also have like individual chats with each of the players, and we'll go, hey, was that your mother or your cousin who did blah blah blah, and they'll be able to reply in real time. And if Kay is doing like this really intense one-on-one thing with one person, and then somebody else is like, wait, I don't understand. No one has to stop, because then they message me and I go clacka, 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 clacka. This is what this means.
And the number of times David has made a player, especially a new player, feel confident, because like a lot of what we run is original stuff. It's original lore. Like it might be, a canon god might show up, but a lot of the world, the settings are original, and they exist. They mostly come from my head, and then we put them on a page, and then David makes them better. And then it becomes a shared thing. And so I'm like talking and doing this whole thing. And a player who's like, I don't want to interrupt, but I also don't want to embarrass myself live on a stream by asking what seems like a foolish or silly question that I should know. They'll message David and be like, hey, David, is da-da-da-da-da. And then without anyone else knowing, David will say like, yes, no, or will say like, you don't necessarily know that. That's a good question to ask in character. And that gives like David, even if you don't see David on the stream, David keeps so much going. I'm so fortunate to have like that backstage. Yeah. We're getting a little off topic.
And there, yeah, we are, but also,
it's good.
And another good point to make is to remember that a question that you ask is often a question that multiple people have. So there have been times where somebody's asked me something one-on-one, and I've taken it to the group chat and I've gone, by the way, blah, blah, blah. And then everybody goes, oh, because everybody had that question, but only one person asked.
Yes. I guess that's a good way to market is like, how newbie friendly do you want to be? Because bringing in players who are I love having a core group who know the system, know the lore, and then 1 or 2 newer people, because they will ask those questions. How do you answer them? To set a good example of like, this is how we welcome someone into this community. And then how accessible do you make all of that information? Because remember, Critical Role has a lore keeper. Literally, there is a person on the Critical Role staff whose job title is Lore Master, and it is not Matthew Mercer. So that actually kind of nicely dovetails into, so this started with like, what system do you use? That's going to impact your audience size. What system do you use? That's going to impact how crunchy versus narrative things are. I famously have a very difficult time functioning in Powered by the Apocalypse games because it's too open. I need some guardrails. My imagination is too big. Restrain it just a little bit and I'll work really well within it. That's not the case for everyone. So think about what freedoms you're giving your players. What are the boundaries? How are you communicating? How are you keeping all of this in? Hey, Ty. I had a place that was tied in so nicely, and my brain, just a little birdie flew away with it.
So branding, marketing, and advertising. The most important thing about branding, marketing, and advertising is you need to have a product to market and advertise and brand. Don't put the cart in front of the horse, unless your horse is really good at pushing. You want to make sure that you're building something that is an actual product.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you do grab your friends and say, hey, we're going to stream, and 3 of them all skip out on a recording session, once every 6 weeks, and you're having a tough time getting, then now is not the time to organize and get it together. Like, you'll see a lot of people in the space, they don't necessarily run live content. Like, especially when it comes to podcasts. Instead, you have people who record things, in some cases, like a year in advance, which just boggles my mind. But they record stuff in advance and then release it as it is done, because that means that they have a product to market.
So, if I started this off with your advertising and your entire thing should not be, we're just friends at a table, because that doesn't work. So what should it be, right? You want something short, you want something clean, you want something easy for people to understand. And unless you are Matthew Mercer, it's probably not the best advertising to start out with. Come join us for an epic quest that will span years and multiple campaigns, because so look, I know David knows this all too well. If I said, David, I've got a 10-hour anime movie that I want you to watch. I want you to sit down and watch 10 hours of this anime movie. Wouldn't do it, would you?
Well, I mean, for you, yes, but I would grumble the whole time.
When Netflix says, hey, here's a 20-episode anime, do you want to just start it and we'll keep going until you tell us to stop?
Yeah, no. It's the Ken Burns documentary phenomenon. It's like a Ken Burns documentary is one episode that's like 10 hours. And it's like, you could have made this a TV show, bud.
Yeah. People are much more likely to hop in if you say, like, hey, here's a 30-minute anime. Check out the first episode, see if you like it. Now, I'm not saying make your TTRPG 30 minutes. Please don't make your TTRPG 30 minutes. It's going to be very difficult. What I'm saying is, don't start advertising. Okay. I love Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson is one of my favorite writers, despite the fact that he is the religion that he is. I love Mistborn so freaking much. I've read all of his stuff, even the young adult, and I hate young adult. That's not a slam on young adult. That's me. A new Sanderson book came out. It was a high fantasy book. I love Sanderson high fantasy. I was like, heck yes, new fantasy trilogy from Sanderson. I grabbed it the moment it came out. I read through the entire thing. I got to the end and I went, that feels like a lot of content for a trilogy. Like so much was introduced in this book that I don't know how he's going to wrap it up in a trilogy.
It's because he's not.
I went to the Wikipedia. I had finished the book, y'all. I went to the Wikipedia and it was like book 1 of a 10-book epic. I'm going to be honest, I don't know that I would have started. Certainly not at that point. I probably would have waited years to start it, knowing. So don't start advertising your multiple-year campaign before you've done a single episode.
Every single one of us has started a Netflix series and gone, this is awesome. And then got to the end of the season and been like, oh man, I can't wait for season 2. I can't wait for season 3. And Netflix is like, too bad, because you're going to be waiting a long time because we're not making it anymore.
Yes. Rex says, scrap my Naruto style 15 minutes episode, 10-minute recap preview of the next episode TTRPG. I mean, if you can pull it off, Rex, I would be down for it. So yeah, Ty makes a great point. Dun and Mr. Ty says, avoid the cliched stuff. We've all seen the same kind of stuff also with many unlikely groups of adventurers. They become pretty likely. So, as a certified queer person, whether the cis-hets realize it or not, every D&D party is a story of found family. Now, some of those resonate more clearly, but like, when I joined Emergency Power Podcast, I listened to it and they're like, so what do you think that, because I'm like, we need to work on the branding. Let me help with the branding. They're like, what do you think the branding is? I'm like, well, this is very much a found family story. They've never said it, but this more than most is a found family. And I do think we should lean into that because so many of the characters are queer coded. Pretty much every D&D character is an unlikely hero. Very few, like the likely heroes are the obvious DNPC from the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie, right? The usual hero is not your usual hero. If they are your usual hero, there's some kind of surprising twist. It's not bad to advertise that, but that, again, probably isn't your best pillar. So how do you come up with what your pillar is? Steal from Dimension 20. Okay? Their first campaign, Fantasy High. It's high school, but they're D&D adventurers. Of Mice and Murder. It's a murder mystery TTRPG, but they're all animals. A Court of Fey and Flowers. It's Jane Austen in the Feywild.
Which really just goes together like peanut butter and jelly. Like,
it's so good. If you have not seen A Court of Fey and Flowers, I need to buy the Jane Austen TTRPG because I want to put the letter writing. I want those letter writing mechanics for a thing that we're working on. Figure out, like, what are your thing? Now, how do you figure out what are your thing? Fey and Flowers is so good. So what is your thing? Well, again, I say this ties back into what are you playing? And when David and I build a game, be it My Little Pony, which we didn't really build, but we definitely, like, when you go to recruit players, when you go to people and say, I want you to play in a game, you don't, I mean, some people do. It's not good to just show up and say, hi, I'm doing a game, come play in it. Tone. What's the setting? What's the system? All that's really important. So for Godplane, when we went to recruit, we're like, we're running a 5e horror campaign. We could have left it at that, right? We had 4 pillars, which is probably a lot, but it was also a full-on, like, short-term campaign, so it was, like, nicely scripted. Yes, Count of Candy is so good. Crown of Candy, it's Game of Thrones, but they're all candy people. They're all food. You kind of know what you're getting, right? You come up with so how do you get there? So for Godplane, we said the mechanics are unlikely friendships, hidden truths revealed, something. What's the third pillar of our campaign that we built, that we poured?
Redemption.
At this point, redemption. No, that was the last one. Something redemption. Hey, Matt, welcome on in. But yes, so we said, like, unlikely friendships, hidden truths revealed. So already,
yeah, redemption. You said 3 pillars.
There's another one. No, there's 4.
There's 4.
I think there's 4. I'm pretty sure there's 4.
We have it written somewhere in, like, the 192-page document.
I'm going through. No, it's in an email. I'm going through it right now.
The point is, we have several. Look, I have corrupted K into my way of organizing documents. Do not do it the way I do, where you take something, put it into a Word doc or a Google Doc, or, and this is the biggest sin, a notepad file.
Yeah, that's all you. I don't do that.
And then have it in, like, a bunch of places. I have notepad files on multiple computers. multiple Google documents, and I have email drafts because that is the easiest place to take notes on your phone.
I mean, and I will say that is a great way to, that is a really great way to have access to it everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. The number of times I have been out in public, on a train, on an airplane, just at a bar, and then I write it into an email draft.
David is at his core a creature of evil chaos, chaotic evil. He doesn't leave Untitled Document 92. He literally goes, he just...
Yes, absolutely.
Someday I am going to go through David's files. I am going to parsec into David's computer, read all of these, name them properly, and David is going to melt. But
it'll take 10 of you 100 years.
It will. Hey, Leslie. So figure out what is the story you want to tell? So again, if we had 3 pillars, because I literally cannot find it. Unlikely friendships, hidden truth revealed, redemption. Every character should have a hidden truth to be revealed. You should be prepared to find connections and friendships that you did not expect. Add graphics and headers to all files. Woo! So for a project that we're working on, one of the pillars is like exploration. Let people know kind of what, and then once you're getting everything together. So again, how Dimension 20 does this, Brennan Lee Mulligan is like, okay, like for Crown of Candy, he's like, we're going to do Game of Thrones, but it's all candy people. Have backup characters because there's a very good chance your character's going to die because it's Game of Thrones. And that's kind of all he's built. He's got a very rough idea. And then people start bringing him the ideas, their characters, and then he helps build the world around the characters. I'm not saying that's how you have to do it, but that is one way. Once you've kind of got everything together, because it is very important for your stream, for your storytelling, for your marketing, and for your freaking sanity that everyone is at least a little bit on board with the kind of game you're playing. So again, don't say, we're going to play a fantasy game. Because fantasy can be a billion things. If I show up wanting some Breath of the Wild, the world is mostly ended and it's like solar punk, nature punk recovering, that's very different from someone who wants to play Warhammer. That's very different from someone who wants, the thing that I would want, which is like mystery, intrigue, courtly romances and scandals. Really get specific. Look at what the characters are bringing. Make sure everything's on the same page. Because for Godplane, there were definitely people that I sat down with and I'm like, I love the character idea. And maybe you have it and I'm just not getting it. But I need to know what is this. Like the description I gave to Godplane is your character doesn't have to be bad or evil, but they have to cast a big shadow. And you have to let me play with that shadow. So make sure everyone is kind of on that same page. And then sit here and go like, okay, I am, for Matt's game, Matt was doing a Pathfinder 2E group of pirates. Cool. Pirates is a very broad genre. Are you recreating Pirates of the Caribbean? No. Are you marauders out there killing everyone? No. You're a group of misfits who just stole your first ship to become pirates.
Yeah, even are you Pirates of the Caribbean the movie or Pirates of the Caribbean the ride?
Yes. So,
and one thing I would like to touch on is you have to craft your entry point, but also do not try to reinvent the wheel. Every type of story has already been told. Shakespeare did it. Shakespeare is the Simpsons of storytelling. Shakespeare did it. It'd been done already.
And if Shakespeare didn't do it, the Greeks did it.
Right. Yeah, if Shakespeare didn't do it, the only reason is because the Greeks had done it already. But like Dimension 20 is you take a thing and then you put a twist on it and then off you go.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit of a elephant in the room when it comes to the TTRPG community. And that is a bunch of white guys at a table. And this may be controversial, but I will say that there's no problem with a bunch of white guys at a table. The only problem, well, if you could get more interesting people to do it. But also, I recognize if you grew up in Portland, Oregon, you've seen 3 black people your entire life, 2 of them on TV. One of them was the president. I've been to Portland, I've looked around, I've seen, and then I've heard tales of places like Idaho and like Montana. Like, there are places where you just can't find people who don't look like you and people who have dramatically different lived experiences to you. And that's fine. Should you work towards diversifying? Should you work towards reaching out to communities that aren't your community? Absolutely. Both for like the like moral imperative of knowing your world better, and also like expanding your community as a part of like your advertising. But if you're 5 white guys at a table, 5 white guys with beards and t-shirts at a table. And the reason I bring up this very specific thing is because like once every 2 months I send Kay a screenshot of a channel we've never heard of. That's 5 white guys with beards in t-shirts at a table. So if you're gonna do that, then you have to find a way to stand out from all of them. And part of it is your performance. Part of it is your storytelling, and like Kate was talking about, like your pillars and like your entry. You have to very quickly come up with some or introduce something to a potential audience member that says, I am not like the rest of the 5 white guys at a table.
And y'all, I went hunting for a thing to watch, and I was like, this is a group of all dudes. Not sure, but I want to learn the system. So I'm gonna listen. And not 5 minutes into their thing, they were like, yeah, we've been accused of misogyny so many times. And I'm like,
right.
I think maybe this isn't the group I need to.
It's like, I get it, you all play League of Legends.
Also, you do not, your entry point, and there are some storytellers. There are some storytellers who can get away with this. And if you are one of those, awesome, do it. But let me be very clear. Most people cannot get away with this. Do not try and start your thing with a 45-minute lore dump.
Oh, yeah.
I'm stealing this line from B. Dave Walters. Star Wars, for 1,000 years, the Jedi were the keepers of balance. It's what you need to know. The rest you can figure out.
Yeah.
Right? So what we're saying is, drill down, figure out what you're doing. And again, not everything has to have a twist, right? It doesn't have, not everything, you don't have to sit here and go, well, I'm doing pirates, so what's the other part of it going to be? Like, not everything has to be pirates meet high school, right? That's not the thing you have to do. But kind of look at your content and be like, what is the really bite-sized? What is the very small elevator pitch? I can say like 3 words and people are like, oh, okay, I get it. And it's either my thing or it's not. Because remember, your thing is not going to be everyone's thing. I would like to address a question given to us.
Yes, absolutely.
By Mimics and Misfits, our dear friend Matt. I'm going to link you a thing. I don't think the 2024 version is out yet, but in chat, coming up, is my favorite tool that I have been using to track social media for over a year and a half now, very close to 2 years. It's a scary document. In fact, when I first introduced this for EPP, people were like, this list is really big and it's really scary, and I don't like it. And now everyone's like, oh yeah, this is great. This is great. I love this resource. Thank you, Firefly. Because it does all of the internet holidays. It does all of the actual holidays. And then really it makes it much easier to set everything up and then spread it out, put it where it needs to be. It makes collaboration a little bit easier if you are working with someone. I'm very fortunate, and people like Leslie make it so I don't have to do all of the social media work. This is a really, really, really great tool, and there are other ways to do it. This is my personal preferred. I have known people who do whiteboards. I've known people, I used to do it through some other tools that no longer exist because Twitter sucks now. Thanks, Muskrat. This is a tool I really love. There are multiple ways if the spreadsheet does not work for you. And in fact, we heavily edit this spreadsheet because we don't post to all of those platforms. So I just take those columns out. At Richard's suggestion, I went in and added a word count or a character counter. So when we type something up, it will actually tell us how many characters are in that text, so we can see, because normally I write everything out in Twitter, then I copy it and paste it into that. But then if someone comes over and edits it, if they do tweaks, they're not sure if they pushed it over the character count or not. Now there's a row that tells them. Find a tool that works for you and go with it.
So I'm eager to hop on this question.
Oh boy.
Or rather this comment. Mimics and Misfits says, yeah, but also you need to put in work for BIPOC folks to be at your table. Got to have that trust that you're going to treat them well. And most 5 white guys tables are rough for that. When I tell you multiple people, and I'm not going to name names, multiple people, for one, so and this is a broader thing, but networking matters. Networking absolutely matters, because I have watched people in this space get chased off the internet because they stepped on the wrong toes. Where there was a time when their Twitch fired up and 100 people tuned in, and then 6 months later they fired up and 6 people tuned in. I've had multiple people, people of color, people who are part of the Alphabet family, go, "Hey, David, do you know so-and-so? Do you know of their work? Do you have any sort of frame of reference for them?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're great to work with." Or, "Listen, I wouldn't condemn my worst enemy to go work with that person. Absolutely not." And I'm really fortunate that most of the people that I've met in this space are really, really great people, but not 100% of them. Kay and I were talking about a couple days ago about a TTRPG campaign that got derailed because they worked with the wrong person. And yeah, if it's 5 white dudes at a table, and then you go and do the homework and you click on it and you go, back a year or two, and it's been 5 white guys at a table this whole time, and then you look at the people who are going to be in the upcoming thing, and it's like, oh man, it's going to be 4 white dudes and me. None of us, well, most of us, because there are a couple of exceptions, but most of us don't want to be tokens.
Yeah.
We don't want to be there to check a box. We don't like that.
And also, I've definitely been at tables or interviewing to be at a table, and it's very clear that they're like, "You're here to be a girlfriend." You're here to be a love interest, and everyone's going to be throwing funny, haha, sexy comments at you the whole time.
Yeah, gross. And if it seems intimidating, if it seems like, oh man, it sure seems like a lot of work to get like women, we're half of the population, but that's a whole different conversation, or people of color or alphabet family people to be a part, do the work. And I'll tell you why. Because for years, for decades, in Hollywood, in publishing, in all of these different media platforms, they went, if we don't have a white guy out there, no one's gonna be interested. And all you have to do is go see or go on Amazon Video and look up like just all the movies that you haven't heard of that are obviously terrible, and they all have the same format: white guy, white woman who's attractive, and it's going to be protagonist, antagonist, girlfriend, like love interest, 100% of the time. All those bad action movies, all those bad horror movies, because that's the formula that they've convinced themselves sells and nothing else will. But guess what? Every time Disney comes out with Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks comes out with a movie where there's a black princess, every time there's a Star Wars movie where they have a woman being the main character,
or there's a femme who's really buff,
right, then all of a sudden everybody comes out of the woodwork. Like Black Panther was one of the highest grossing Marvel movies, and I remember going to see a different movie when Black Panther 2 was out, and a bunch of like church black women at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday went to see Black Panther 2. Now, I know why I'm going to see just a terrible horror movie at 11 a.m. on a Thursday, but I am the exception, not the rule. Like, and the fact that these women got up, did their hair, and that is a enormous marketing win, because that is extrapolated over the entire country.
So, do the work. And again, it is work. It is, we say this all the time, it is work, and you will make mistakes. And when you make those mistakes, you've got to react correctly, because everyone here has made the mistake. Some of us live on camera, and we had to deal with that and build a bridge and move on. The trick is, don't monetize a video saying I'm sorry for 20 minutes with a non-apology. Like, right.
Don't break out the ukulele.
Show the people that you hurt that, like, hey, I messed up. I'm ignorant. I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to do better. And then do it. It's worth it. Trust me, because the more incredible, yes.
Right.
Yes. The more perspectives you have, the more people of different mindsets, the more people with different worldviews and understandings, the better your everything is going to be. Your parody songs are really good. I would accept a parody apology from Candace and Candace alone.
Yeah.
So, chemistry is the most important thing, right? You can have a table with all sorts. I have been at tables that are incredibly diverse, where no one knew anyone. None of us had ever played together before. The GM didn't know us. The GM didn't care about us. And it was terrible. No one had fun. Certainly not the audience. So chemistry is key. So yes, when possible, which should be high on your priority, because as Matt said, if you really care about having a diverse table, Your diverse players are going to be the first people you should recruit. Because you're going to want to tell people, hey, I'm reaching out to you. I'm also thinking of reaching out to these 3 other people. And there's a chance that some of those 3 other people, that person might not be thrilled about playing with. So recruit your diverse folks first, if that is your priority. And also, again, keep a mind towards chemistry. But, so I linked to that spreadsheet, which is how I manage my social. So here's the thing. When we talk about advertising, when we talk about how to market your thing, again, have your little elevator pitch, understand crystal clear, like what this is, and keep in mind that might change. Hopefully, you know, the total, but if especially in a game that runs for a long time, it might take a sharp turn. Something might go dark. And if that's then just alter your branding. Just don't keep going, we're wholesome and fun. And then it's like, also, there's lots of murders and it's gruesome. And there's a lot of horror, like.
Matching your tone with your brand is not only extremely important, but it's something that Kay and I talk about all the time. Because I get about as dark could get. And I'd say the number one question that I ask Kay, and I'd argue that we ask each other, is this too much? We actually I talk about whatever games I'm going to play on stream with Kay beforehand. And there are certain games that we won't play because of ethical issues with stuff that's going on in the world right now. But I've said to Kay, hey, I don't want to play this game because I feel like it is outside of the tone of what we're doing. And it doesn't mean that I don't play the game and that I don't have fun with the game, but like, this isn't the place for it.
Right. And again, check-ins are so important. And again, so I wrote a scene and a thing that's not out yet and won't be out for a while. And I was credit where it's due. I was having a hard time writing a scene. David said, what if you did this, and wrote a scene? And I took it and I made it worse. I made it worse to the point of David's reply was, why are you like this? And had the moment of like, is this too much? And then when the scene played out in the game itself, the players were like, that was amazing. That was awesome and terrible. And it felt like I was in an anime, which is exactly the vibe that I wanted with this. Like, so is this too much is a valid question. And sometimes the answer is no, it's exactly the right amount, but like, keep that in mind. When we talk about actually marketing it, this is where it is a little bit difficult to have this conversation because we are in a social media hellscape right now. Y'all, yeah. I have been professionally working in social media since before social media was a term. I'm dating myself. When I began my career as a community manager, Facebook did not yet exist. It was my site and it was MySpace. My site being DeviantArt, for those of you who don't know. So I have watched this change. It has never changed this drastically, this quickly. It has never been this terrible to try and figure out how to market a thing through social media. It has never, ever been this bad. So be aware that you're coming up against that, especially at a time when certain companies are making very bad decisions around their IP and ruining trust. And so therefore people are getting mad and attacking creators who are not in any actual way affiliated with that brand, just using their system. So all that's a challenge. But let me say, the algorithms are gods and they are pretty decently constantly changing. I can tell you, short form video content does very well.
Yeah.
If you really want to market your thing, I am very sorry to say, you are going to have to learn how to make vertical format shorts for TikTok, for YouTube, shorts for wherever. Gonna have to learn to do it. I'm considering, with my limited skills, setting up some kind of tutorial to maybe put on our site or somewhere of how I do it through DaVinci Resolve, which is completely free, so that other folks can. I also am not, I don't like, David watches a billion times more TikTok than I do.
Oh, yeah,
I am
way
not
too
a
much.
TikTok fiend, but I'm not huge. I understand why it's punchy, and you really do figure out those crystal clear, great moments of your campaign and pull them into those things to get people in, because Twitch's discovery algorithm sucks.
Yeah.
Twitch will do nothing to help you get viewers. None at all. So you have to go to other places. Exactly the best way to do that, I can't say, because I looked this up just recently to help with another thing, and I promise you it's changed since then. So look up what there's all sorts of advice around the best posting times, the best days, the best. Some of that is good, and I do certainly pay attention to it. It's probably best to not release your advertisements at 8:30 at night on a Friday, US time, because people aren't going to be on their phone. So do research that. Do take it with a little bit of a grain of salt.
One interesting thing is, so I don't understand why so many TTRPG streamers book directly across from the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
The number of games that start on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific. What? Why?
Yeah. The first campaign of Godplane, I was like, we end at 7 p.m. on Thursdays because I am not going up against the Death Star.
Right. And when Kay and I were talking about me streaming, like, purposefully, I chose Friday afternoon, evening, because it's a bad time slot. Because part of what we're doing is we're having other people who are going to be running content on our shows. We are going to be running multiple things concurrently. And I wanted to make sure that no one looked at our calendar and went, oh man, I'm stuck with Friday night. Are you kidding? No one's going to see this. And yeah, we want to make sure that people, that all those, like, the more choice time slots are available. Like Firefly died because they moved it to Friday.
Yes. Black Dice Society, one of the bigger streams, had a hard out 7 p.m. Pacific Thursdays because B-Dave knew what was on. Exactly. So if I cannot give you exact advice around how to market on social media, because I can't, because even if I gave it to you today, tomorrow it's going to be wrong because everything sucks. I'm going to tell you two really important things. And these things suck because they are probably going to cost you money. But if you are going to invest, these are the things to invest in. First off, character art. You
Absolutely.
can cheat this. I know so many games that use Hero Forge, but it helps so much to have a physical representation of your characters. Having art makes it so much more likely that people, and then all of that art, like I had commissioned those three portraits of David and I, and they have been of a billion uses. They're on business cards. They are our YouTube thumbnails. They're on our advertising head. Like, you will get use out of this art. Commission art. If you are hurting for people, if you don't know who to commission, please reach out. I just, for work was like, we're super into TTRPGs. Who can I commission? Like we have a TTRPG channel in my work chat, and they were like, I'm trying to find a good artist on Fiverr. And I'm like, don't go to Fiverr. And I just started listing up. They're like, do you have a spreadsheet? I'm like, I really should have a spreadsheet because I'm literally going through like my Gmail and like my sent folder and keywording. And yeah, I know so many amazing artists, and there are so many artists who undercharge. You will get incredible art and tip them well. Please. Commission that art, find places to use it. It can be part of your advertisement. Even when you're making those shorts, just a simple add layer, put the character next to the person who's speaking.
Yeah, that's really important.
It is so good to help people on board to your game. And it can be done cheap. It can be done, but figure out a way to get those physical representations.
And one thing that people really glaze over and don't really talk about, and is absolutely free, and I'd argue is the most important part of advertising and marketing, is show up in spaces. Show up in communities that are doing the thing that you want to be a part of. Because if, like 4 years ago, I tried to start a TTRPG channel and cast a bunch of people that I know now, they would look at me and be like, who are you and what do you want? Like building community and showing your face in places is, especially from a starting point, the most important thing. Like a lot of the marketing, a lot of the audience that you're going to get is the people who are fans of the people you work with. Like, people knew Brennan Lee Mulligan and Iffy before they did TTRPG content. Iffy was on podcasts, Iffy was a comedian, or is a comedian. Like I first heard about Iffy because he was on stage at the Comedy Store. Like, I was at the Comedy Store and he was just one of the people that was there. Now, I didn't see him because I was doing other things. I was very drunk. But that's when I first heard the name. And then I heard Iffy's name on a podcast that I was randomly listening to. And then Kay was like, hey, do you know Iffy? And I'm like, it can't be the same Iffy that the dude at the...
He got them thighs?
Right.
He a freak?
Right.
He a freak and he proud of it?
Right.
He a freak and we love him for it?
And so, like, a lot of people who've had success, especially in the upper echelons of TTRPGs, had careers, had things they were doing before, and then brought that fan base with them. And like, you know, if you're just a guy, then you're not going to have that advantage. So you have to build, not necessarily a following, but you have to become a known quantity in the community. Like no one's going to ask me to be on a panel at PAX 4 years ago because they'll be like, who are you? But if I decided that I was going to show up to a convention and I wanted to be on a panel, I could then go and like talk to a bunch of people who know who I am, people who know my name, people who know Kay, and then go, hey, I'm thinking about maybe I should be on a panel. And then somebody who knows who I am will be like, sure, David, get in here. But if they don't go, oh, that Ducky, get over here, then it's not going to be a thing because they will look at you and be like, who are you?
Would you like to be on Leslie's panel 4 years ago?
Yes.
And that is also an important point that I should point out for the social marketing, is you can't just blast what you're doing. Interact with people, reply to things, repost cool shit other people are doing, show up in their actual place. Even if you're not in their stream for very long, show up, say hi, make a comment, make a little bit of conversation, and then you can jet. You can ghost jet. It's fine. But if all you're ever doing is me, no one is going to listen to you. The other really important thing, for your marketing. Now, this applies specifically to streams, podcasters, you're safe. But again, actually, if you want to do cool stuff, okay, we'll talk about podcasts in a minute. But if you are doing an actual play on stream, make sure you invest either time, talent, or cash money in your overlay. Because your overlay, that setup, that is the first thing that people are going to see. And if it looks bad, people are going to bounce.
We should probably like snag Jason to be on here to give away like the secrets of here are the
I'm not giving away Jason's secrets.
It's fair. But
we're going to charge for Jason's going to charge for Jason's secrets.
But ooh-wee. So here's the thing. The biggest names in the community don't have time to watch all the things. To see all the... Matt Mercer ain't seen your shit.
No.
Like
Matt Mercer has not watched your TikTok shorts about your campaign and then clicked over and watched the live stream. Hadn't done it.
Yeah. Like Abria doesn't sit down for 12 hours straight watching TTRPG streams. It's so but that doesn't mean that people in the community have not peeked in on your stuff. Like I've said to you, like once every 2 months, I send Kay a screenshot of another channel and be like, these are the things that they're doing wrong. These are the things that that they're doing right. Here's what we can learn from what they're doing. And like, I'm just as bad. I'm worse. Like there are tons and tons of streams that I don't make for people that I care about, people that I want to see for a lot of reasons. I'm working, I'm sleeping, like we all have lives to lead. But there are plenty of people that know me not through Kay, but because I pop on and for 15 minutes I sit there and I type and I react and like I chit chat with people. The number of streams out there where there are 50 people watching and one person is typing in chat. You want to build community? Show up to people playing games, sit and taka for like 10 minutes, grab everybody's socials, everybody who's performing, follow them on Twitter, and then click on their Twitters, see if they're in something else, and then go and show up to one of those a couple of weeks later, taka and repeat. And guess what? You will be a known quantity sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm. Your overlays, people are going to look at it. Here's the other thing I will say, and this is true for students podcast. Your audio quality is important. Your camera quality is not. Audio quality will make or break your stream. Full stop. So if you're going to invest in anything, invest in mics, invest in overlay, invest in character art. Promise you, it will help. If you can afford
what order would you put those?
So mics first. Mics first. Yes, audio is real because if you're trying to watch a stream and this is all that you can hear, doesn't matter how good your performance is, no one can hear it. But that's also that falls into production because as the producer, someone's audio might be coming in great. If you're not outputting it correctly, it's going to sound bad. If there's echoes, people are looking for excuses to jump, right? Bad audio is the biggest reason to jump. So make sure your audio is on point. Do some test recordings, all of that. And y'all know, some of y'all hanging out on channel know, I've had a heck of a time trying to get my audio up and balanced with everything else. We've had all sorts of weird tech gremlin audio issues. And we've been fortunate that people have stuck around. We are the fortunate minority.
Yeah.
Most people don't stick around. So thank you so much, chat. You're awesome. We love you. You are all great. And thank you for being wonderful. So audio is incredibly important. Your overlay is, and often, let's be honest, your overlay and the character art are often kind of part and parcel. Depending, I do think it will somewhat, if you can only really invest time and money into one or the other, try both, but look for free options because there are free or very inexpensive overlays that you can get. Nerd or Die has a bunch of overlays that are free or very cheap. You can go onto Etsy. Etsy has a bunch of TTRPG overlays. Starfinder and Pathfinder have pre-made overlays that you can just edit and slap on. If you can then take those and add your character art on top, even better. If you can figure out OBS enough to take your character art and make a rotating carousel with your characters so everyone can see, even better. Your stream doesn't have to be highly interactive, but if it looks... I'm going to throw shade at no one because, again, everyone starts somewhere. But stream elements also, yes, bunch of free ones. If you go into the TTRPG channel, the TTRPG category on Twitch at any given time, and you scroll until you find those streams with 5 or 6 people on camera and 1 or 0 viewers.
Yeah.
They generally have a look. And if your look is just a little bit above those, you're already better than 95% of TTRPG streams on the internet. And again, we all start somewhere. And there is, if all you want to do, if your end goal is I want to play games with my friends and I want to have a VOD of it for me to look back and remember that we did this, great, you have won. If you are really looking to do this, so there are free or inexpensive options for all of this. There is no shame in a Hero Forge screenshotted character. I know, y'all, the number of people I know who are literally like, I built the Hero Forge character, I took a screenshot, I used GIMP or Canva to edit out the background, and I stuck that on. Yep, do it. People do that. It's fine. You do what you got to do. I've been watching this channel for a year plus. I just now realized the overlay is a classic hatchback. Yes, so this overlay I made it using Dungeon Scrawl, and I took it and I assembled it all in Photoshop. We work with the incredibly talented Jason Domokame, who is hopefully, ideally, going to be making some new, even better, even prettier overlays for us. But again, this overlay, I want something that is TTRPG without being obnoxiously TTRPG. So again, I didn't commission this one. I made the overlay Dungeon Hatch in Dungeon Scrawl, which is a free program, and then just compiled it to make it the overlay. You can do it in Canva. So there are ways. There are ways to do it on the cheap. And again, I just took that free background that I made, took the art I commissioned, slap it on top, and hey, pretty not bad, right?
So I've been thinking about this for a while, and there are many things that you could do that are free. But if you're serious about doing TTRPG stuff, and I know we're all team broke out here because I am broke. Like, I think I have $1, possibly one whole doll hair. But I clicked on a stream and saw a face that I've been seeing for years now, and they were still like into like the knockoff iPhone, and the audio was and I'm like, it's been 2.5 years now, like, and the cold reality is that if you want success in any of the things you do, especially the TTRPG space, in any sort of creative thing, then you have to invest energy, time, and money. And like Kay said, the first thing you should invest money in is your microphone, and then the next thing The next things are stuff like overlay and character art and stuff. But like, at the very least, be upgrading. Like work toward, because when we first started out, I had a shittier webcam. I didn't have any lighting. Kay was like, "Listen, man, you got to have lighting. If you don't have lighting,
I'm gonna send you some stuff. Hold on."
Kay sent me. I have multiple microphones. I've got 3 different mics that if this would just shit the bed, I could just press a button, click a thing, and then boom, here we go. And then, you know, anyone who's followed us for a while now has seen how our overlays have evolved, have seen that we run commissioned or not commissioned, but like we run licensed content like the pony game. And we've been really fortunate in connections we've made and in resources that we've had access to and advice that we've gotten from professionals for free or very cheap. But like Kay and I both have invested a lot of energy, time, and money. Listen, Kay has thrown some money at this, okay? And if you're not willing to do all 3 of those things and build community and reach out and extend yourself into uncomfortable places, like for instance, like courting people of color to be a part, then other people who are willing to do those things will have more success than you.
Yes. So Leslie, who is our incredible editor and audio wizard at Emergency Power Podcast, says the cheap, and this is okay. I will say, and Leslie will disagree, which is fine. For podcasting, you really need a good mic. It is very important. It's actually a little less important for live streaming. Having good audio quality for live streaming is important, but it's a little bit less so because people have different expectations. They'll tolerate a little bit more. But Leslie says, the cheapest mic setup I would trust is the Samsung Q2U for $70, or if you want an audio interface, the Behringer XM8500 with Focusrite Scarlett Solo. I use the Focusrite Scarlett Solo. Bottom line, get a dynamic mic. So yes, I'm going to quickly shift into podcasting. If you want to do your podcast, obviously you don't need to do the overlay. That's pretty convenient. I still strongly recommend character art because again, even if people are only listening, having the visual to go with that, and especially if you have really cool character designs, like y'all, you can hire someone off of Fiverr. Don't pay a little bit. There's so many talented TTRPG people, TTRPG artists. And in fact, if you join any TTRPG Twitter, or not Twitter, if you join any TTRPG Discord, they will probably be advertising their art at you if you want them to or not.
Right. And there's like Fiverr is great. Like other people I know in the writing community make their living. Like if you self-publish books, then you're on Fiverr getting somebody who makes cover art, and there are great people on there. But there's already a network of people who are chomping at the bit to do this.
And if you don't have to explain to someone who your native language is not their native language what a tiefling is, it's already going to be a better quality product in the end. But get your character art. In fact, I'm just going to say this. If you want to know how to really do a good job advertising your podcast, you definitely want a website, you want the feed. Actually, Leslie would talk much better about this than I would, but if you want to know how to do a really good job of marketing your podcast, just go look at the Atom list. just look at how they do some brilliant things, from how they advertise their guest stars within the podcast description themselves. Like, yeah, Adam, this is great. Again, social media, very much like I said with TTRPGs. I would even recommend with podcast. We did this for EPP until we got to the power packs, and I'm hoping to get back to it for book 4. But we would take audio clips. We'd do the little short audio clips, and then we would put the character who said it and like a little quote line, and we'd have like the little, I would make my camera is fuzzing as I'm trying to do. I would make the audio lines bounce. So you'd hear it and then you'd see the reactive audio line to what was being spoken. We took the funniest, 10 to 30 second clips and turned that into a video. And you stick that on Twitter. You stick that on YouTube Shorts. You stick that on TikTok. And then you say, go listen to it over here. Having really cool art will help you with that so much, because even though it is an audio format and you're like, I don't need that because everyone here is listening. So no. You want people, it's like you see the food before you taste it. Right. It impacts.
And it circles back to like step 1, have content. Because you can't clip for vertical videos, you can't clip trailer for your show, you can't clip little bits of audio to put in places. You can't display your character art on Twitter or Instagram. Like, you can't do any of those things if you don't have character art, if you don't have anything recorded, if you don't have overlays to go over the things that you're recording. Like, and actually one of the challenges that people who live stream versus people who do pre-recorded stuff is, especially that first episode, it's a little more complicated to get people on board with that, because you don't have the funny clip to put on TikTok or YouTube Shorts yet. But then after that first episode runs, you could go, okay, go catch up, watch the first episode, and then come in and then watch.
One cheat for that is if you record if you have a session 0, have a session 0, have a session 0, have multiple session 0s, have a session 0. In fact, I have seen, and I would love to do, where people do a session 0 to like chit chat, and then people have like an off the book, this is not canon, though it might be canon, campaign of here's a little thing of let's throw our characters together and see how they feel. Because I think we've all had the experience of, I thought this character was going to be this way, and then I opened my mouth and something different came out. Sometimes it's because of the people around them. People will throw together, like, we're going to put our characters together. We can decide after it's done if this happened or not, but we can at least feel out table chemistry, decide if we need to change characters, decide if this clicks. EPP's Mr. Business came from a non-canon session 0. I love Mr. Business. Y'all go listen to the Emergency Power podcast. But you can then take the funniest moments of those and clip those and be like, well, looks like what this relationship's going to be like. Come find out on episode 1. But yes, the very long and short of it is content creation is a lot of work. And content creation around TTRPGs is even more work, because we all know that the first boss of TTRPGs is the schedule. You're trying to schedule a number of people, and I know a few successful TTRPGs a few successful things that have had this where everyone takes a little bit of responsibility. That's normally not the case. Normally there's 1, 2, 3 people doing the lion's share of the work. And if you are listening to this, you are probably one of those people, either because you've just taken that, or you're like, I want to helm my own thing. So how do I do it? If you can, ask your players to help you out. Everyone has stuff they're good at, they specialize in. And even if, look, y'all, the amount of stress, the amount of just mental energy that is taken off of my shoulders from the knowledge of I wrote up a month's worth of tweets, and someone else is going to schedule them. I don't have to physically sit here and make sure all of this is scheduled. If someone else could just, even though it's just copy pasting, my not having to do that frees me up to go do. I had to come to Jesus with David recently because I'm like, I am doing too much and I can't do the stuff we need to do because all this other little stuff is pulling me down. And like that was the thing. I was to the point where I couldn't even say I need X, Y, and or Z. I was just like, all of this and.
And it's first remember TTR like doing a thing is a lot of work. It's more work than you think it's going to be. 1. 2, know that while you are trying to do all the things, understand that Dimension 20 and Critical Role and all these other like bigger, they have dozens of people doing it. Like Kay does the job of 40 people by herself easily. And so there's an element of like, do what you can and know that you can't do all the things because you're not 40 people. Yep. And that's why it's really important to prioritize. Like a couple of big meetings that Kay and I have had over the past like 6 weeks, 2 months have been like, here are all the like first let's see all the things that we want to do, like all of them. And it's this massive multi-page document of just like one line of like, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. Part of how we helped like wrangle those things is we went, okay, this, in order to do this, we have to do these things. So let's do this thing first. And like I said, or like Kay said, like reach out to your communities. Like people, there are people who are friends in my life who have never sat down and watched a talk show, never sat down and watched one of our streams, where I'm like, hey, can you do blank? And they're like, yeah. Like, go subscribe to our YouTube and then go watch our YouTube channel because we need more watch time on YouTube. And I've said that to people and they're like, oh yeah, I'll throw that on. And like, they don't have the tiniest interest in TTRPGs. But
they'll click play and let it run in the background.
Right. And like Kay knows, I don't art at all. And there are lots of other things that I'm just not good at. But we have people on our Discord and we have people who are friends of ours. A lot of the like big storytelling stuff that we're doing in the project that we're working on and that we've done in Godplane have been discussed and tested out with our home game. And a lot of and actually right now I'm running a home game where we're play testing a lot of storytelling elements and helping to flesh out things. And it's like there's a community of people who will be excited about what you're working on, who are willing to help, and reach out to them and ask them, and like, you know, be gracious because people don't none of us got time, none of us got free time. But you know, like, utilize your community. Because there are people who want to see you succeed. And then as you meet other people in the community, they have communities. And you could form those bonds. Like, the reason Jason does overlays for us is because of Candace. Like, the reason that we had art for the first series of Godplane is because Kay knew a person who does that.
And we invited them to come on and play. And they're like, oh, I'll make art. So, as David said, Big production companies have huge amounts of workers doing all this. It is a lot. Don't get me wrong. So pace yourself, give yourself way more time than you think it will take. Because I promise you, especially if you've never edited a video in your life, you're not going to knock out your first video edit in 20 minutes. It's going to take you so much longer. You're not going to figure out the best way to schedule your social media posts. You're not going to figure out all of this stuff the first time. But I promise you it will get easier the more you do it.
And it doesn't have to be perfect the first time or the second time or the 10th time. Like with overlays, Kay has made the number of times where Kay and I were like, I'm doing other things on a Saturday or a Sunday, and then Kay is like, what about this? Wait, don't look at that. I don't like that. Look at this. Wait, no, not that one. And just just a 12-hour day of Kay working on it. Like as talented as Kay is, Kay doesn't just sit down, slap it together, and then it's great. Like it takes work, it takes time, and like we've done we're recording a thing now, and we have just brilliantly talented people, brilliantly talented performers, and like last recording session, we had someone who nailed a thing, and then they're like, I didn't like it, I might take it again. And we're like, but why? Because like it doesn't come out the first time the way you want it to.
And also, you kind of have to see the thing in action. An overlay can be beautiful when you're staring at it with like blank backgrounds. The minute you start putting people in it and you see it live, you're like, I can't focus on the people. There's too much stuff. Or this looked great here, but actually now that I'm seeing it, I can't read anyone's names. Or even you put it together, you put it up, and you're like, the overlay doesn't match the tone. Or here, okay, this is my pet peeve, y'all. And this is a K thing. I think it is valid, but let me say it is not valid for everyone. Okay? Let me be very clear on this, because different games, different things. I really like overlays that show and focus on the faces of the players, because the faces of the players are what express. And there are so many overlays. There are so many shows where I have seen built beautifully complex overlays with so much empty space. So much empty space with the players in little tiny windows or circles.
Just ooh, yeah, just
And you know, whoever built that spent so much time on it. And then 2 or 3 streams later, it's a different overlay with bigger boxes for the faces. And Kay as the player is like, yes. And Kay as the person who's made overlays is like, that made someone real upset. Yeah. It was the right call, but that made someone real upset.
And one thing, not to be giving away the trade secrets, but one of the things that I have seen multiple times is, this font is great. This font is great. This font is great. You stick them all in the same thing and it looks like a hot mess.
Yeah, too many font. Don't put more than 2 fonts on your overlay. Cheat. So I think we've covered a lot. We have been talking for about an hour and 40 minutes. Are there any burning questions you have, chat, that we did not cover? Obviously, like I said, I can't really give a lot of social media advice because it might change tomorrow. Lika Slims talks about using the proportions from the news show to figure out how much space people should use. That's very smart. Yeah, I try to leave as much room as I can. One thing I will say, I realized, David, we didn't set up the captions today. I'm so sorry, y'all. We didn't have captions going. I just realized that right now because I looked up, like, are my captions still going? The caption window isn't even open. I'm sorry, y'all. That is my bad. But when it comes to live captions,
Oh, yeah.
when it comes to live captions, accessibility is important. Also, not all captions are the same. Like a lot of the community that needs and uses live captions say that a lot of the live captioning that is used in actual plays is performative and not useful, especially if it's requiring you to look different places for what's being said. There are two free options. One of them is not really free, but Google Meets does great live captions. And then using that same technology, you can use Pixel TV for free to get your captions. That's what we use for this show normally when we remember to turn it on. Accessibility is important if you can do. But also don't go, oh, well, the only thing I can actually use is web captioner, and I'm going to eat up a bunch of space for web captioner, for live captions, when actually that's not what the community that doesn't actually help the community. That is not what they need or want. So when it comes to charities I will say this too. Charity games are great. They are for a great cause. They are also incredible for marketing, which is a terrible thing to say, but we live in a capitalistic hellscape. So, there it is. Charity games will let you meet great people. Charity games will let you raise money for great causes, and charity games are a great way for people to find out who the heck you are. Research your charities. There's a lot of really bad charities and a lot of really bad ways to donate to charities.
Ooh, yeah.
So do your research with whatever you're using. If you can have someone doing sign interpreting for your TTRPG, sign translation, incredible. We don't have that capability, so we don't do it. And we're not going to try to find some really cheap, crappy, doesn't look good, doesn't do what people need it to do, just so we can say we do it, right? Don't do that. So look up these things, do your research, and do your best. And if someone comes to you and says, okay, also, a lot of people will tell you, pay me X and I will teach you how to do Y. You can do that. You're better off Googling, generally, because Google will have the same information, often more updated, especially if it's a pre-recorded thing, because like I said, social media is changing all the time. But research what people want and need, research the best way to do it. Start with a baseline of I can reasonably do X, and then build it up. And that can be time-wise, that can be talent-wise, that can be resource monetarily. Do what you can and build up as you go. That was a lot of talking. We covered a lot of points, also not nearly as many as I would have liked. But I think that's kind of what we got, unless, chat, you have any burning questions. Here's the one, I keep saying we're done. Here's the one bit of social advice I will give you. Every post should have a call to action. Please do. I assume it's going to be the amazing DC Lasser, who, yes, go watch DC Lasser stuff. If you are posting, have a call to action.
Yeah.
And this feels, and I'm not done with it. It feels gross because it feels gross to say, follow me, watch me, click this, like this. But people don't know what to do unless you tell them. So straight up tell them, click the link and like, click the link and follow, click the link and leave a comment. Tell them what they want to do and say please and thank you, and you can feel fine about it, but tell them what to do. But here's the other part of this, and this is freaking vital, because I watched an incredible artist sabotage an amazing art giveaway because they did this. Don't have more than 2 call to actions. If you tell people to do 3 things, they will do no things. If you tell people to do 1 thing, most of them will do it. If you tell people to do 2 things, most people will do 1 of those 2 things. If you tell people to do 3 things, most people will do nothing. Do not say, go here and do this, and then go here and do this. And if you click, no, go here, do this thing. Thank you kindly. Make another post asking for something else. Spread that out. because the more things you give people to do, the less likely they are to do it. Yes, Rex says DC Lacerre does Tech Fridays on his own Twitch, has great research on his site as well. Man is a treasure, and I have learned a ton from watching, reading his up-to-date work. Yes, DC Lacerre is incredible, and we're going to, I know you have feels, David, about countdowns and timers, but we are going to be using some of his tips around countdowns and timers.
But like, there's a reason that every cheesy YouTube series you've ever seen has been like, remember to click that thing down in the thing.
Ring the bell.
Remember to like and subscribe, because it worked. And like, if you really pay attention, it's worked on you at some point. Mm-hmm. Because I have been like an hour into a really interesting YouTube video, and I'm thinking, oh man, I really like this person. I want like more of their content. And then like continue, and then it's like, by the way, if you like this, please remember to I'm like, oh shit, I guess I click. And like, the thought and the action are divorced until there's an external motivator.
Yes.
And that's just basic human psychology.
Please do subscribe and like and or comment on any of our videos, because it really does help us, and we're trying very hard to get monetized there. Thanks. Yes. But yes, that I realized I didn't cover that in the social media. That is the golden rule of social media that will never change. Never have more than 2 call to actions. Ever. It won't work. I watched an incredible artist who truly astounding work, and was like, it's a double raffle. Follow me. Hey, Chris, I always. She's like, there's going to be 2 winners, 1 Twitter, 1 Instagram. On Twitter, you know, the usual, like, retweet, comment with your OC. Great. On Instagram, go over here, do this, and like, was tweeting towards the end of the giveaway, and it's like, this got so much more engagement and so much less traction than my last one. And I don't understand. And I'm like, I could tell you exactly why. And it sucks because you did something really cool. But I could tell you exactly why. So I hope we have given you some tools. Again, I will drop, this will be part of the YouTube video. And again, I do not, their 2024 one is not up yet. But if you are trying to get in the habit of making a social media calendar, which I really recommend, it really does help. This is a great spreadsheet, Google Spreadsheets compatible to just get you started. It is wonderful. And there are, again, there are lots of free editing tools. You can use Canva. GIMP is free. InDesign, InDesign. I think it's InDesign. Is it InDesign? There is a graphics editing program that is something like $70 for a lifetime license. However, it often goes on sale for $20 to $25. So keep an eye out, because that is worth it. DaVinci Resolve has both a free and a paid video editing suite, but everything I have ever needed to do, I have been able to do in the free. The only thing I have ever wanted the paid one for is to have it auto-generate live captions. That's it. Affinity looks like Adobe tools, but pay once. Yes. Being an Adobe nerd, I have a little bit of a hard time translating it, but if you didn't come from Adobe, I think you'll be pretty much just fine. It breaks my brain just a little bit. But those are some easy ways to get started. Kind Live is a free video editor that Leslie has used. Ooh. So again, it is a lot of work. Pace yourself. Start with what you can do. Once that gets easier, expand. You cannot and should not start trying to do all of the things all at once. Start with content. Invest in microphones and audio, art, and overlays. And be kind to yourself, because everything will get difficult. I had a point I was going to, and yes, it is a lot of work. However, the feeling that you get when people come to you and tell you, I had so much fun in that game. That was an experience I will never forget. That was a story I've never gotten to tell. When someone is like, I can't get enough of this game that I'm in, I'm going to go back and watch some of your older content because I cannot get enough of this and I want more of this feeling. It can be incredibly worth it. Just remember to be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself, and don't be me and get to the point where you're like, I can't do anything because I've got too much little stuff. Any final thoughts, David, now that we've been talking for just shy of 2 hours?
Yeah. If you're serious, do the work. And if you're serious, don't get discouraged. And if you're serious, go find people, find communities, and do the hard things. I mean, and that's a general rule for life. Find communities and do the hard things.
And especially if someone is kind, generous, or helpful, give as much as you get. Be that monetarily or paying it forward. Because if you are taking more than you give, believe you me, people will notice. Maybe not right away.
Yeah.
But they will notice. All right, chat. Thank you as always. You have been incredible. This was a lovely talk. I need to take headphones off and drink some more iced tea. So I think we're calling it. Again, tomorrow I'm doing a double feature. Find me over on the initiative order playing Chalice at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then immediately after that at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find me over at Goblin Cave TV playing the My Little Pony Tiefling Swashbuckling Acrobat. Uenya. Thursday, I might be wrapping up a little bit of the Pokemon DLC, but we'll be streaming Ooblets for their Steam release. I am so grateful that they sent me a code. David, Friday, what you doing?
Friday, come join me for at least one episode of Telltale Games' The Expanse, a Telltale series. It's tough to say every time. And then in honor of spooky season, I will switch over to Darkest Dungeon 2. And we will spend some quality time there.
Thank you, chat, for sharing your learnings, especially, and I'm sure I'm missing a few, but Rex, Leslie, Ty dropped in a few. I had a list, Ogar, and I know JD dropped in a couple, and Matt, Mimics and Misfits. Thank you all for sharing your knowledge and your experiences too. Again, the more we share, the more we can pay it forward, the better we're all going to be, and we all just want to make this community better and great and more inclusive and telling better stories. So thank you muchly. Do we want to go see Xander?
Well, Bronze is streaming and From Afar is streaming, so. Now that Bronze has gotten back from Ireland, Scotland?
Yeah.
Somewhere over there.
Let's go see David. Let's go see From Afar podcast. So thank you all. We are going to flip over to the end screen. We will see you next time. Thank you so much. I hope I get to see some of you for at least one of my adventures tomorrow. They're both going to be a lot. I'm really excited. Trauma is coming to both of those characters, and David knows I love character trauma. So thank you all again. You are wonderful. Be kind to yourself, be excellent to others, and we will see you next time.